How Film Alters Perception, a Neuroscientific and Ethical Argument. Assalamu alaikum, dear listeners and fellow filmmakers. Welcome back to our series for Muslim creatives. Today we're diving into a fascinating topic, how film alters human perception and the ethical responsibilities this places on us as Muslim storytellers. Have you ever watched a movie that stayed with you for days? That made you feel emotions so real you could almost touch them? This isn't just good storytelling, it's neuroscience at work. And as Muslim filmmakers, understanding this power gives us both an opportunity and an amana, trust, to use it responsibly. The science of storytelling, how screenplays hack the brain. Let's start with something profound. Screenplays aren't just stories, they're psychological blueprints engineered to hijack attention, manipulate emotion, and even rewire belief systems. Modern storytelling leverages neuroscience, sociology, and anthropology to maximize emotional impact, making film perhaps the most potent tool for perceptual influence in human history. So, how exactly does this work? Let's break down the neuroscience of narrative. First, there's the dopamine and anticipation connection. Have you noticed how shows like Breaking Bad or Lost use cliffhangers, plot twists, and mystery boxes to keep you watching? These techniques trigger dopamine surges in your brain, creating an addiction-like engagement. You literally can't stop watching. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, warned us about excessive attachment to worldly distractions. In a hadith recorded in Sunan Ibn Majah, he cautioned that such attachments can distract us from our purpose. As Muslim filmmakers, we must ask, are we creating content that addicts or content that elevates? Then there's the fascinating role of mirror neurons and empathy. When we watch a character suffer or rejoice on screen, our brains fire the same neurons as if we were experiencing it ourselves. This is why a film like Schindler's List can make audiences physically flinch at violence. The brain is literally experiencing a shadow of that pain. This neural mirroring is a profound responsibility. The Quran and Sunnah emphasize that what we expose ourselves to shapes who we become. If our audiences are neurologically experiencing what our characters do, shouldn't those experiences align with Islamic values? Horror films like The Conjuring or Get Out use jump scares and uneasy silence to spike cortisol, training the brain to associate fear with specific imagery. From a fiqh perspective, causing unnecessary terror may be considered haram if it causes psychological harm. The psychology of character archetypes. Hollywood has developed sophisticated methods to manipulate audience emotions through character design. The Save the Cat method, developed by Blake Snyder, is a formula to make protagonists instantly likable, usually by showing them doing something kind early in the film. It's effective, but here's the problem. This technique manipulates audiences into rooting for morally ambiguous characters. Think about Walter White in Breaking Bad, a meth manufacturer who many viewers supported despite his increasingly evil actions. Then there's the famous hero's journey template used in everything from Star Wars to The Lion King. It taps into mythological psychology to create emotional resonance. But as Muslims, we have an alternative. The Prophet's stories from the Quran offer a divinely guided hero's journey without moral compromise. The evolution of story development from formula to algorithm. Most Hollywood films follow the exact same structure, the three-act structure: setup, confrontation, resolution. It is scientifically optimized to maintain attention. Films like Jurassic Park and The Godfather use this formula masterfully. The problem? These structures often reward sin. The Wolf of Wall Street, for example, follows this structure while glorifying greed. And now we've entered the algorithmic era of storytelling. Streaming platforms like Netflix use eye tracking and biometric data to refine scripts for maximum addiction. House of Cards was literally rewritten based on viewer heartbeat data. From an Islamic perspective, This turns storytelling into a dopamine delivery system rather than an art of truth. And platforms like TikTok have taken this further with ultra-fast cuts, about 1.5 seconds per shot, that overload the brain's sensory processing, making slower, reflective content seem boring. This has fiqh implications because content that degrades patience, sabr, may conflict with Islamic ethics. As Muslim filmmakers, we're swimming against a powerful current of algorithmic manipulation. Case studies: how films rewire belief systems. Let's look at some real examples of how films can rewire belief systems, for better or worse. Netflix's 13 Reasons Why was linked to a 28% increase in teen suicide rates according to a 2019 NIH study. The show romanticized self-harm in a way that had real-world consequences. From a fiqh perspective, this is spreading harm, darar, which is prohibited in Islam. Similarly, the 2019 film Joker offered such a sympathetic portrayal of a murderer that it led to real-world violence emulation, prompting an FBI warning. This directly contradicts the Quranic guidance. Do not incline toward the wrongdoers, Quran 11:113. But film can also create positive perceptual shifts. The Message from 1976 used Quranic pacing, slow, reflective scenes to instill taqwa instead of dopamine spikes. And more recently, Ertugrul, Dirilish, has reversed secularization trends among Muslim youth by modeling Islamic heroism. The Islamic alternative: a dopamine-aware narrative ethic. So, what's our path forward as Muslim filmmakers? We need to develop a dopamine-aware narrative ethic that counters manipulative storytelling. First, we must understand the neuroscience of halal storytelling. This means replacing jump scares with awe of Allah's creation, like the breathtaking landscapes in The Message. It means using silence and symbolism for reflection instead of sensory overload. Second, we need to apply the fiqh of emotional influence. What's permissible? Inspiring hope in Allah, as the Quran does in Surah Az-Zumar. Do not despair of Allah's mercy. What's haram? Exploiting lust, despair, or rage simply for engagement. Third, we must reclaim story structures. We can adapt the hero's journey into the prophet's journey. Using Yusuf's trials, peace be upon him, as a screenplay model. We can replace Save the Cat with Save the Ummah, making moral clarity, not manipulation, the hook. The battle for the mind. Brothers and sisters, modern screenwriting is essentially a psychological warfare tool, one that can brainwash or enlighten. As Muslim filmmakers, we must master these techniques not to manipulate, but to deconstruct haram manipulation in mainstream media. Reconstruct storytelling as a form of dawah. This is the jihad of storytelling. Will we surrender the pen or reclaim it? I believe we can create films that engage the mind and heart without compromising our values. Films that showcase the beauty of Islam through both content and form. May Allah guide our creative endeavors and purify our intentions. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.